I thought today that we'd do a slightly different video than my normal retro content, and that's because my 14-inch MacBook Pro has recently developed a fault with one of the speakers. Now unfortunately it's just over 12 months old, so it's outside Apple's limited warranty, and I didn't get Apple Care because, to be honest, the laptop lives in the living room and as far as it goes is upstairs to my home office, or sometimes it goes in our camper van when we go on holiday. But it's normally really well protected. So I didn't see the point in getting Apple Care. I've also never purchased it for any of my other devices and I've been fine up to this point. And another reason is I didn't really want to drop my laptop off at my local Apple store, which is only 25 miles away. But it would mean over 100 miles in total because I'd have to drive there, drop it off, drive home again, and then when it was repaired I'd have to drive back, collect it, and then drive home again. So collectively that's over 100 miles. I'd also likely have to pay an out-of-warranty repair fee, and that could potentially bump up the repair price. So I thought I'd take a look at Apple's self-repair programs. I've just finished replacing both the left and right speakers and I'm happy to report that it's working excellently and there's no longer any distortions at certain frequencies. Now I wanted to do a quick video to show you what my experience was like and whether or not you might want to consider doing a repair yourself. Now the parts that I've purchased are genuine Apple parts and they were all sourced through the Apple self-repair program online. These were shipped to me within 2 days and it's been a pretty painless experience so far. However, I was slightly worried about replacing the speakers as the repair guide has about 10 steps on how to use this Kevlar rope, when in actual fact it's much easier than the repair guide would let you believe. The whole process took about 45 minutes as I was taking it very steadily, and I did give myself a mild heart attack after I buttoned everything up and I tried it. The trackpad was non-responsive and the right speaker didn't work at all, and I opened up the bottom of the computer and noticed that I'd not connected one of the flat flex ribbon cables correctly. This was a nice easy fix, and a reboot later the trackpad was working as expected, as was the right speaker. So buying the parts from Apple cost about £45. If I took my laptop to the Apple store I was quoted £85 for labour and £45 for parts. That's obviously on top of the fuel and time it would take to get there and back. Whereas purchasing the parts myself meant I wouldn't have to pay that £85 out of warranty repair fee. Now the process isn't for the faint of heart, these machines are expensive and you can risk damaging them further. But after going through the repair guide I decided that it was actually something that I wouldn't mind tackling myself. Now getting inside is perhaps the hardest part of this whole endeavour. I know that there are clips on the sides of the bottom of the case, but I didn't want to accidentally bend the metal, so poking some iFixit picks in helped, and a little bit of force in the right place and it popped right off. There are probably a few of you shouting at the screen telling me that I'm doing it wrong, and I admit I probably did. But after all, I am an amateur. I don't usually go venturing inside £1,700 computers. There are 2 rows of pentalobe screws here, short ones and long ones. And don't try to be cheap here by using an aftermarket iPhone screen repair screwdriver, as you might risk damaging the screws and thus preventing gaining access inside the machine at all. I bought a toolkit off Amazon and that included the correct size pentalobe screwdriver bit that I needed. Once opened, I blew away some dust and got a microfiber cloth to clean away any other debris. Now there weren't many, as I try not to get crumbs on my machine. Attention now needs to be turned at disconnecting the battery. Once my initial panic of realising that these were Torx screws and not pentalobe screws had passed, I undid 2 tiny black screws and disconnected the battery. In the replacement parts box came a cardboard battery protector that simply sits on top of the battery. This, I guess, is to ensure that you don't accidentally puncture it, as the cardboard is quite thick. However, it can be a little annoying when you're trying to line up the speakers before you press them down, but it was a nice and clever inclusion, I thought. So now that the battery is disconnected, it's time to use the Kevlar rope, which must be stuffed into the finest gap around the speakers. The instructions say to use 10 post-it notes to push down in the gap, or a couple less if 10 is too many. Well, I didn't have any, but the paper that the Kevlar tape came in was quite thick, so I used that. It is, after all, just to get the rope in enough to hook around the top of the speaker. Then, using quite a bit of force and some backward and forward motions, I cut through the adhesive tape holding the existing speakers down. This is what looked most awkward in the repair manual, but in practice it wasn't nearly as tough as I thought it was going to be, and after a few seconds the speaker was released. I think my only comment at this point would be to Apple. Please stop using adhesive everywhere. 2 screws, top and bottom, could have just as well easily have been used and would have made the repair a lot easier. I can't imagine the cost of 4 additional screws in the construction of the machine would add too much to the cost of the bill of materials, or it would just make things easier for repair techs, or in this case me. The new speakers must be bought in a pair, and I initially, before I attempted the repair, thought I was only going to replace the one I believed to be faulty. However, upon removing it, I expected to see a torn cone or something, but I couldn't find any on my cursory inspection. And after finding it so much easier to replace the damaged right speaker, I had a lot more confidence in replacing the left one too, so I set about replacing that one next. Now, I previously mentioned that I hadn't quite connected one of the speaker's flat flex ribbon cables, and that initially made me extremely worried. Had I broken the little clip holding the cable down, or had I caused some new damage? Happily, no. I took off the bottom, this time much faster than I did the previous time, and noticed that I hadn't quite got the cable lined up with the connector. This was a nice simple fix, and when I turned the machine over to start the test, I was relieved when audio started coming through that speaker too. I couldn't tell from the chime that if both speakers were working, and as fast as Macs are to boot these days, this time it seemed to take forever. Of course, your mind starts playing tricks on you, and you start imagining that this was a stupid idea and you're probably going to end up with a much larger repair bill now. Once loaded up, I opened up Apple Music and played a random song. Now, I've got a little bit of hearing loss in my right ear, so I always check with my left, and... So wrapping things up, the big question is always the same with repairs like this. Was it actually worth doing myself, or would I have been better off handing it over to Apple? Well, in my case, the repair myself made sense for a few reasons. Firstly, the cost. Replacement speakers were much cheaper on their own than they would be with Apple's out-of-warranty pricing, and I didn't fancy paying a premium for what is, at the end of the day, a fairly well-documented repair. Then there's also the convenience side of things. Appointments, waiting around, and being without a laptop for a few days isn't ideal, especially when it's something realistically I can tackle myself. Doing it myself also meant I could start and finish the repair when it suited me, without handing my machine over or waiting for a call to say that it was ready. There's also the satisfaction factor. Taking something that's broken, fixing it and knowing it's working because of you. That's always a good feeling. And you learn a lot along the way, which makes future repairs a little bit less intimidating. That said, DIY repairs aren't always the right answer. There is definitely risk involved. One mistake, one slip tool, and you can easily make things worse. And if your machine is still under warranty, opening it up yourself is usually a very bad idea. Apple repairs do have their place. You get guaranteed workmanship, genuine parts, and if anything goes wrong afterwards, it's not your problem. For newer machines, expensive components, or anything you rely on every single day, that peace of mind is worth a lot. So for me, this MacBook Pro, out of warranty with its clearly defined fault, doing it myself was the right call. But it's always about weighing up the costs, the risks, and how comfortable you are with the job before picking up a screwdriver. Well, if you've made it this far, thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.